Hello, welcome to Steve McDonald's Arts and Crafts, and what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be doing a pour in this mould. Now this is quite a large mould and it takes quite a lot of resin. What I want to show you is a technique that I use not only to save myself resin but also to make larger pieces like this a lot lighter than they would be, because it's not necessary to use all the resin that you would need to fill in with these certain types of moulds. I've already painted the mica powder inside the resin. And if you want to know how I do that and the way to do that, then check out the video that I'll link at the end of this video. I've also mixed up my resin already. And what I will do is, firstly, I will pour in a bit of resin, probably about a ½ an inch in there, in the bottom of each one. And then what I will do is I will allow that to cure up. And then I will show you what I do to make sure that I don't have to use a lot of resin and waste a lot of resin. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. This is cured now, the bit that I put in there, and that allows us now to put the next bit in that we need to do to save the amount of resin that we want to use. Now what I've got here is I've got some pots. These are actually what individual portions of Philadelphia come in. I just cut the top off and then I can use those. And what I do is I then will pop this into the actual space and then I will pour the resin around it. Before I do that, I do put a little bit on the bottom and I'll show you that in a second. But even though these do come out quite easily once it's all cured, you can spray them with some mould release, which can help. But actually, I find spraying something like this with mould release quite difficult and you end up wasting a lot of mould release. So what I've got is I've just got some petroleum jelly or good old Vaseline. And I just rub it on all the way around this little pot. And that creates a little barrier, and then the resin won't stick anywhere to this pot and it'll just come out nice and easy. And I do use Vaseline now and again as a mould release if it's going to be into something that I'm not worried about how it's going to finish and what it's going to look like. And I'm not worried about how it's going to finish and what it's going to look like in the inside because I'm not going to see it. I've got my resin mixed up now, and all I'm going to do is put a little bit in the bottom there, and the reason is that allows me to put the pot in there and the pot will stick to that as well, and it prevents any bubbles getting underneath and then releasing later on. And now I'm ready to pop my pots in there. And what I'll do is, because if you don't weigh these pots down, what will happen is when you put the resin in, it'll float to the top. So what I do is I pop some sand in these, and if you haven't got any sand, then a couple of stones or anything with a little bit of weight to it should be enough. So there we go, I've got my sand in there, and I'm going to pop that one in that way round. And as long as you've got this level, that shouldn't move to the sides. It should stay where it is, but give it a bit of a squidgy widgy there onto it, and then if there's any bubbles underneath, that will move those bubbles out and that will help it stay there. And now all I have to do is fill these up around the edge, making sure that I don't go over the lip of the actual pot, because that's the last thing I want to do, because I don't want that sand getting covered in resin. Okay, and there we go, and then that's done. What we do is we let this cure up. The other thing that doing this does is it allows you to use a normal resin rather than slow cure resin, because you're not actually putting in as much as you would normally. And I'm going to tell you exactly how much resin you save by doing something like this. So what I've actually saved is 165 mils of resin, because what I did was I filled the pots up with water, 3 of them, and put them in there. And actually you will have saved a little bit more, because what you've also got is the outside, and I'm only measuring it from the inside. And when you think about it, that's quite a lot of resin to save there, not only weight but money wise as well. And you know, if you're doing big castings, and I will show you soon how to do this with a pyramid as well, one of the larger pyramids, it makes a big difference. It cuts down your costs, but it also makes these things a lot lighter and easier to use. These are all cured now, which is great. And what we need to do is just get these little pots out and get the sand out. Now, what I do to get the sand out is, rather than try and take the pot out with the sand in, I just pour the sand on a piece of card, because it's not going to make any mess, not real too much mess. And then I'll pop that back in my bag of sand, and that way you're not struggling to get the sand out without flicking it everywhere. Now, there is two ways that you can do this. You can either take the mould out, the casting out of the mould. So what I do is I get just my jewellery pliers like that, and then I can get a better grip of it, and then it pulls straight out, and that's how it comes. Now, there's the Vaseline is still in there, so all you need to do is get a little cloth, then you can get the Vaseline out, and it just comes out nice and clean. And this mould is for cakes, actually. It's not designed specifically for resin, but I quite like this, and it makes nice little houses. And you don't know that the actual pot had ever been there. And what it does is it gives it a really nice feel and look. But also, if you want to, you could pop in some lights. Let's do that. So you could pop in these little battery operated LED lights. I'm not even going to bother to unwind these ones because they're all nicely screwed up like that. Pop them in there. And then you've got a little light up house. Let's turn these lights off. I'll show you what it looks like. Yay! A little lit up house. So this is a great way of saving money on the amount of resin that you use, also reducing the weight of it, and it allows you, really, I could have made another house out of the amount of resin that I saved. And also it does just give you that a lot less weight to it. Now, you can't do this with every single mould, but you can do it with a lot of moulds. Certainly the big pyramids. I am going to be doing a video on how to use the big pyramid mould to make sure that you get nice flat sides, all that sort of thing. So that's coming up soon, and with a little scene in it, because you have to work in reverse. And I will be using a similar method to this, but using obviously not these little tiny pots, to save probably half the amount of resin that you would normally use. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been useful. Resin's expensive, so it's good to save it as much as you can. 3 nice little houses where I've saved 165 mil of resin. Let me know in the comments what you think of this. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thank you to all my members. If you'd like to buy me a coffee to say thank you for saving you some money on your resin, I really do appreciate it, because I am saving for a pressure pot and I'm getting there now. I'm nearly halfway there. Thank you to everybody. Anybody that donates throughout the month of December up until I buy the pressure pot, I will put their names on the actual pressure pot itself when I use it as a thank you as well. Enjoy your resin. Take care of yourself. Bye.